Okay, folks out there in YouTube land, this is Dan at Hardwood Hollow Bushcraft. Just a quick follow-up to my bush stove video. Something I left out that I wanted to point out, and that's the ability to use the parts of my stove here as simply as a windbreak if you're building a fire on the ground, or using a little Trangia stove instead of fully assembling it, or some other sort of stove that won't fit in it, like a Swedish military stove or sterno type stove that may not fit down inside of it. Let me show you how you can use my bush stove as a windbreak, and let me reset and I'll set it up for you real quick. Okay, folks, here I am back. I'm going to give you the update on how to use my bush stove as a windbreak. Like I said, if you're going to build a fire right on the ground, or you're using some sort of a stove that will not fit inside of my bush stove. When my bush stove is fully assembled, it is a rather small profile. So put together like this, it's a rather small profile that limits the size of what you can actually put inside of it. So what I'm going to show you is how to use it as a windbreak. Now, prior, I showed you how to use these heavy wires that go on top, and they help hold everything together. And then I had these two fine wires here that went through the outside to pin the walls together, like this. Okay, now that's how my stove is assembled normally, either with or without the addition of the burn plate that drops down inside. For this purpose, we're obviously not going to use that. So what we're going to do is to tie the stove together. You would assemble it as normal like this, and then you would remove this rear wire. Now you're going to take one of the heavy wires from the top and hook it through like that, and just let it lay at about a 90-degree angle. And then on the back side, you're going to take and do the same thing. Now, these two wires are holding that together. You can now pull this front wire out, drop your front plate off, and you now have a three-sided windbreak. If you want to take it to the next level and have a four-sided windbreak, you'll remember that the main piece here, the front piece, has this firebox door which normally goes on the bottom. What I would recommend is inverting that so that firebox door is near the top, inserting it like this, then again taking one of the thin wires this time, do the same thing, insert it through the hole and drop it down like that. You now have a four-sided windbreak, which you can now adjust in and out as needed for your stove that's in here. If you feel the need to stake it down, you're going to take your remaining wires right here, and what I recommend is going in through these vent holes, sliding the wire in through the vent hole, and then just simply pushing it down into the ground on either side like this, with the hook side of the wire facing down, and then come into the corner or the middle like this, and simply push your third wire into the ground that way. You've now securely locked this thing down to the ground, and it's not going anywhere. If you need to, also you can bring rocks in and simply, instead of staking it, simply set a rock up against it from each corner, and you now have, we'll go ahead and remove this stake, and we'll go ahead and remove this stake, and you can set a rock down at each quadrant, and you've now securely and accurate, keeping it from being able to fall over. So that's it. Very simple. Of course, if you have rocks this size, this just happened to be what was right next to me, you can pretty much quickly build a windbreak out of those. But for the purposes of this video, you can put rocks, you could pile sand up against it, gravel. You could even, if you had wood, put sticks of wood up against it to keep it from collapsing in, and that'll take care of your problem. So here we are back at Hardwood Hollow, and this is Dan, and I'm going to remind you again, better to be prepared today than to wish you were prepared tomorrow. So everybody have a great day, and that's it from Hardwood Hollow. Have fun, everybody. Get out and enjoy the outdoors. Remember, always practice proper firearm safety. This is Dan, Hardwood Hollow Bushcraft. I'm out.
Storm clouds are building above the timber.